Hey guys, it's Janie. Welcome back to the Crafting Bookworm. Today I have a review for you. Okay, welcome back, you guys. If you're new here, welcome. I appreciate you guys being here. I wanted to do a review for you. And that review is Here One Moment by Liane Moriarty. And I have read several Liane Moriarty books, and I've loved every book that I've read by her. This book, Here One Moment, I decided on this because I actually needed an H. I had to have an H for my A through Z challenge, so I decided on reading this one to cover that, and it's Liane Moriarty. I love her stuff. So we're going to first read this synopsis to you guys. Aside from a delay, there will be no problems. The flight will be smooth. It will land safely. Everyone who gets on the plane will get off. But almost all of them will be forever changed. Because on this ordinary, short domestic flight, something extraordinary happens. People learn how and when they're going to die. For some, their death is far in the future, age 103. And they laugh. But for 6 passengers, their predicted deaths are not far away at all. How do they know this? There were ostensibly more interesting people on the flight. The bride and groom, the jittery, possibly famous woman, the giant Hemsworth-esque, I don't like that part, guy who looks like an off-duty superhero, the frazzled, gorgeous flight attendant, but none would become as famous as the Death Lady. Not a single passenger or crew member will later recall noticing her board the plane. She wasn't exceptionally old or young, rude or polite. She wasn't drunk or nervous or pregnant. Her appearance and demeanor were unremarkable, but what she did on the flight was truly remarkable. A few months later, one passenger dies exactly as she predicted. Then 2 more passengers die again, as she said they would. Soon, no one is thinking this is simply an entertaining story at a cocktail party. If you were told you only had a certain amount of time left to live, would you do things differently? Would you try to dodge your destiny? So, as I said in my wrap-up, this really reminded me a lot of The Measure, which I really enjoyed that book. And that is the question, like, if you were told how you're going to die and when you're going to die, would you try to change things? Especially when people who were told these things did actually die, how they said they were going to die, and when they were going to die. Just like I said in the book The Measure, in a perfect world, you know, in The Measure, because they received a box that had a string, and the length of the string was the length of your life. And in the perfect world, I would like to say that I'm not going to look in that. I don't want to know. But in the back of my mind, and you're told these things, you know, or like in The Measure, and you look in there and you find out how long you're going to live, or you're told how you're going to die and when. I would definitely want to make the changes to offset that, right? Like, in the back of your mind, you're going to think, well, this person really could have predicted these things. But then you're like, but really? Can people really do that? Are there really people who are able to tell the future? You know, type of thing. And if someone said, hey, you're going to have an accident, because one of the people was told they were going to they were going to die in a work accident. So what? Is that person going to just stop working? It's not feasible, right? So what? Do you just act extra careful when you're working? So you're okay, well, I can't do this part for you because that's really dangerous and it could kill me. I mean, it's going to completely change your lifestyle, you know. Um, this book did have kind of a slow start, which was a little bit annoying. But I found out that it was really probably necessary. You learn a lot about the different people. You learn about the death lady, the one who was making these predictions. I feel like they were on the plane for a really, really long time, and that's what threw me. And I'm just like, can we just get off the plane and can we go out and do our lives and see if these, predictions come true and that kind of stuff. So once you get past that part, but really, if you're going to read the book, really pay attention and really absorb that first part of the book, where they're on the plane, because you do really learn a lot about each of these people, who they are, and so forth. This book ended up being so much more than I thought it was going to be. And I shouldn't have been surprised by that because I love Liane Moriarty. I think her writing is just poetic, and it just flows really well and really draws you in. And that's what threw me with this one because, learning all these passengers and being in that area of the book seemed like forever. And maybe it wasn't, I don't know, but for me it felt like that part really did drag along pretty well. But it's important. You really need to pay attention to that part and figure out who these people are. And some of these characters are just fabulous. I really loved their characters and who they were, and I loved the interaction between characters and their relationships and how they would come together throughout the story. All that was fantastic. And then just the wrap up of the story was amazing. And just how did she come about going on this flight and predicting all this stuff? You'll read all this stuff in here, and it's just amazing. And just thinking, it's very thought-provoking, this story was. If you were put in this situation, if you were told, you're going to have a car accident and you're going to die on this day, are you not going to go out that day? Because I surely wouldn't. I would be staying at home. There's no way I'd be going, and you couldn't even take an Uber or a taxi or any of that, because if it's a car accident, because I if I remember correctly, she didn't say, I can't remember if she said you were driving. I think it was just a car accident, so you wouldn't know, and it would completely change your life. I don't feel like there's anybody that would read that or would be in that situation that would say, nah, I would just live just normally. I don't feel like you could. I feel like, say you're going to have, you're going to die of renal failure or something. You're going to do things, rush to the doctor. You're going to, I just feel like if you're put in that moment, you're going to make the changes. So it's very thought-provoking, this whole story was, and just the whole wrap-up and everything was beautiful. I loved it. I'm so glad that I read it, even though I thought the beginning was just dragging on. Fantastic read. If you guys love Liane Moriarty and you have not read this book, do read it. I highly recommend it. Pay attention when you're reading this slow part. It may not be slow. If you've read this book, let me know if that all felt slow to you. But yeah, it was it was an amazing story, and it just keeps me wanting to go on this road with Leanne Moriarty, because I've read probably, this has probably been like the fourth or fifth book of hers that I've read, and really enjoy her stuff. And I still have a few others left to read, and I do own a lot of her books, so we'll see, but I have read several of them. But yeah, that is my review of Here One Moment. If you get the chance to read it, do. If you have read it, let me know in the comments your thoughts on it, your thoughts on, you know, the slow parts. Was it slow for you? Your thoughts on the characters. It's just, yeah, I just absolutely loved it. 4 stars for this. Just because it felt slow for me in the beginning, it could have been a 5-star rating. But I should take that into consideration that, you know, she's, you know, talking about her character. She's giving us some backstory and stuff. So, yeah, if you can get past that part of it, but it's, yeah, amazing story. And I hope that if you haven't read it, you will read it. But that's all I have for you guys today on this review. I thank you so much for staying tuned. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.